you ever sought justice for something? If you have, what was your motive behind it? Well, let's look at Asaph's motive as we dig into Psalm chapter 83 in our Psalm a Day series. Welcome back to Wisdom from the Word. We are in our Psalm a Day series, and we are in Psalm chapter 83 today. Would you join me as I read the last of Asaph's Psalms? The Bible says, "Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kishon, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zebah and as Zalmunna, who said, Let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. O my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever, yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Jehovah, art the Most High over all the earth." As we look at Psalm chapter 83, as I said, it is the last of Asaph's Psalms. The culmination of everything that Asaph has written comes to an end from Psalm, I believe it was 73 to 83, the last 10 Psalms of Asaph, and they all work together, and they all come together, and the main theme that Asaph really wants to portray is shown in Psalm chapter 83. And so we see first, though, in verse 4, that there are those who seek to destroy Israel. It says, They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And it lists, in the following verses, it lists all of these enemies that have assembled together to destroy Israel. Verses 1 through 5 is Asaph pleading for intervention from the Lord. These enemies have gathered themselves, and he pleads for the Lord. And he says in verse 1, Keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still. And he says, why? Why is he asking God this in verse 2? For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Verses 6 through 9 explains the nations and the enemies and their alliance. And then we see verses 9 through 15. He is seeking God's judgment. We see, Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kishon. And so these are previous battles that Israel has won and defeated their enemies. And Asaph is saying, Lord, make this alliance of enemies as you did with those battles. And we see verse 16 through 18. At the beginning of this video, I asked if you've ever asked for justice. What was your motive behind that? And we see Asaph's motive in verse 16 and 17, and it says, Fill their faces with shame. He's asking for justice, but notice in the next part of that verse, he says that they may seek thy name, O Lord. It wasn't for Asaph to be able to stand and say, well, I prayed and our enemies were expunged because I prayed and the Lord answered. And it wasn't give them justice because they are evil and they are your enemies, they are our enemies. No, he says, Lord, fill their faces with shame that they may seek thy name, O Lord. And so what is our application? There was a physical battle here that was about to occur. And we don't really have those physical battles anymore, but we have spiritual battles going on. And so our application is a 3-point application. First of all is to turn to God when faced with opposition. Don't panic in opposition. Pray. Pray. When you're faced with opposition, when you have people coming at you, don't panic. Don't freak out. Don't run to all of the people around you, but pray and sit in silence and say, Lord, I'm turning to you, and I lay this situation into your hands. So turn to God in opposition. Number 2 is trust God's sovereignty. God has the final authority and the say in any situation. And so trust that God's sovereignty is going to be carried out in those situations. And then lastly here, seek God's glory above all else. Why do we want justice? Is it for revenge? Is it so we can be lifted up in pride? No. It should be the motive behind us seeking justice should be Asaph's motive in verse 16, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. It is for God's glory. Why did Asaph write 12 psalms? It wasn't for his fame. It was for God's glory. So turn, trust, and seek the Lord. So I thank you for joining me in Psalm chapter 83. And that wraps up Asaph's Psalms, but we have many more Psalms to go. So make sure you're subscribed so you get the updates and the published videos. And then go check out the Bible with Brady as he's doing the other half of these Psalms. Thank you for joining me once again. I will see you guys in the next Psalm.